Hello.
Hiya.
Hi, this is Pam Electric Ghost. In the background, you're listening to some Redwolf music, and we're getting ready to talk to Redwolf. So
Cheers.
hold on, I was going to turn it down. But yeah, I was just listening to DVLMN
Yeah.
on your SoundCloud, and also your Breaking the Law cover, which
Yeah. Thank you.
is pretty cool. We're going to promote those as links on this episode. So yeah, just to give a little brief intro, I'm Fam Electric Ghost. This is the Fam Electric Ghost Show. We're on Anchor FM, which is part of Spotify, and we interview indie artists from around the world. And today we have Red Wolf Music, and you're a synthwave, ambient, retrowave artist from the UK, right?
Yeah, I am. Yeah.
Okay, so let me get into what we normally get into. We sent you some questions. What I usually ask is like, when did you get into music? Like what age?
I was actually 11, so I think I had like a guitar when I was five, but obviously I think around about that time Star Wars came out, so I kind of dropped all that. But it was only until I was like 11 I think I started playing guitar again.
Yeah.
And yeah, so from that point, so because I think like back then I was mostly into sort of I guess like metal music. I think I was influenced by a lot of bands like say Rammstein and Birth and Valentine and stuff like that. And then over sort of years, I think I got to about 14, 15, I think it was. And yeah, so I started doing, I think, music in school. And they had Cubase on, yeah, on the in the course sort of thing. And so, yeah, so I started picking up on that. And then, yeah, pretty much went from there sort of since. And primarily sort of these days, just do electronic music.
So when you do electronic music, are you primarily in like Cubase or some kind of DAW, or do you use hardware synths or modular synths? Or are you primarily a DAW, digital audio workstation artist?
Yeah, so funny enough, actually, everything that I've posted today, I think other than a couple of things, but all sort of the posts I've put up on my Instagram account, they've all been done in Fruity Loops mobile. So I actually do everything on my phone at the moment, which I have done for the past sort of like 4 years, because like you're on the go, and the synths are actually very good on it. But like, so what I normally do other than that, stuff I haven't posted, it's like I use Cubase at home.
Hmm.
Everything is pretty much either stock sort of VSTs. I think the only one that uses Serum, which is an absolutely great synth to have. But I don't actually use any sort of like hardware and stuff, which I'd like to. But yeah, I think the space and money is
Yeah,
gonna it's gonna say no to that. So yeah,
yeah. I'm a hardware synth guy. It just because
yeah,
I'm in my 50s and I've got the Moogs and Rolands and all that stuff. And
yeah,
I just the way I record is I record onto Zoom R24s. And
great,
I don't use DAWs because I like you going kind of old school and track
yeah.
things in that way, which is a different way of doing it. You can end up getting a different sound.
Mm.
Uh,
No,
but
makes sense, makes sense.
yeah, but that's this part of what the Ghost sounds like. That's my thing. But I talk to artists from all around the world. I talk to multiple genres, and it's always interesting to just see what people are doing. Uh,
Of course.
so when did you decide that you could actually bring something to the table as an artist and not just do covers and write your own music?
Say that again, sorry.
What I'm saying is like some artists, like with the musicians, they start like doing cover band and stuff. They cover other people's music, but they don't like write their own music. When did you decide that you wanted to write your own music?
Oh, I always have done. I've always kind of been a musician to just do what I want to do. So I think playing in obviously like bands when I was a kid. I think I can't remember exactly what kind of point I got to, but obviously you start when you play in bands and stuff as a, I guess like yeah, for myself as a guitarist.
Yeah.
Um, I think I was obviously like doing a lot of covers. I think we were playing like not early as like bands like Day to Remember. Um, God, I can't even remember. I think it might have been like a bit of Valentine as well. But I've always been very much like I want to write. So I think it's probably from the age of I'm gonna say 12. I think as soon as I could
Oh, so you,
sort
yeah. So you,
sort of get things together that I just have done. So yeah,
so you were in bands and you played guitar. So you play guitar?
yeah, I do also. I do also, but I think primarily, yeah, obviously primarily I'm the, I guess, like synthwave guy does and Redwolf.
So
Uh,
yeah. Do you use a MIDI controller, or do you do everything on the phone? Do you do any kind of like MIDI keyboards or anything with your
yeah, I mean, I do to a point. I mean, so when I'm, I guess, writing on my phone, I tend to, so my sort of like approach to writing isn't, I don't think it's very common. Maybe it is. But what I end up trying to do, because I think with the sort of style that I do, where I've kind of got these kind of like bass lines and synths, kind of, they're not really necessarily playing a melody, they're just playing something to a
Mhm.
point. And that's kind of done by just kind of like in my head, just using theory and just thinking, well, that note would go with that one and that would go with that. And what I end up doing is starting off on a root note, and then you kind of put like mono and legato on, and you kind of just draw in where you think the note should be, basically. So you kind of make a rhythm off kind of just looking at I guess like MIDI, like sort of how you sort of drawing it in.
Yeah,
Um I mean, I do occasionally write stuff with actually playing it. I mean, I'm not the best piano player,
yeah, yeah,
but I do know, obviously, know where things are, and I can sort of work out, like, it's better for, I guess, like melodies. Like if I've got like a
Mhm.
chord sequence that I'm trying to work out, sometimes I do like to feel like I'm sort of a bit more in control of it, because when you're drawing things in like a door, um, you're almost guessing. Like
yeah,
you're not going to know what the end product is, which I quite like,
yeah,
because when I start writing, it's like I just kind of put like maybe like kick drums down or like a little beat, and then be like, okay, let's let's see what happens if I draw
yeah,
some things in, and then sometimes it's really good, and sometimes it gets thrown out the window. But that's just, yeah, that's kind of my approach to it.
yeah. Because I think if you get back to the original electronic music that was created by when the Moog was created back in the late '60s, the initial modular Moog synthesizers didn't have keyboards. They just
Yeah,
had controlled voltage sequencers. And the
yeah,
original electronic musicians in New York City used these controlled voltage sequencers to actually do the music without, it's very experimental. And so it's kind of like full circle. If you go back to the original creation of the original synthesizers, they had these, gate and, voltage controlled uh, sequencers. They're all, controlled voltage synthesizers. And they didn't even have keyboards. And everybody was just experimenting with they kind of just, I don't know what it is until I do it.
yeah, pretty much. I like that approach. I really like that approach. That's kind of worked for me, because how I feel sometimes as well is like when I listen to music, say for example, I'm just gonna pick like one that I like a lot. You got an artist called Trevor something.
Mm-hmm.
He's got a song called Isolated, and it's one of like sort of my big sort of influences on kind of how I write music, with like kind of little things that go on in the background. And I always find, like, when I sit down to write music, and in the sort of sense that I've got this idea in my head and I
Mm-hmm.
try to put it down exactly as I am thinking of it, it's never going to go that way. It's never going
Yeah.
to sound good. And I think like the approach of just experimenting just works for me all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Because I come to realize, I did put a big post up on my Instagram page, actually, just kind of about that sort of thing, where you're kind of struggling to get like the sound you want. Like it doesn't sound like anything that,
Yeah.
that you would listen to as such. And but the thing is, then I kind of hit a point, I think, like a few weeks ago, maybe a month ago, where I was writing all this music and none of it was sounding what I wanted it to. And then I was going back to stuff that I've written like quite a while ago, and it was very much just like my best stuff has literally just been me putting my headphones on and just going for it. Like no idea what I'm gonna do. The only ideas I've
Yeah.
come up with is along the way I think like, oh yeah, that might fit over the top, and I'll put that in if I can, or I'll end up putting something completely different in because I kicked on like a different synth preset that sounds much better, and it gives you like a different idea. But I think for me the experimental sort of way of writing just works so much better than having like this big idea and putting it down. I would like to be able to do that, because my
Yeah.
music would sound great if what in my head could actually come down on the computer, but it never works that way. So yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, what I do, my name of my record label is Expansive Sound Experiments, and I use modes, make noise and stuff. But what I do is I always start a session, just let the analog synths do what they do. So I'll turn on my Moog and I'll create a patch from scratch, which is one of the cool things about using analog synths is that you can just create the waveforms from scratch. And then I just create something and then I run a sequence. And I have real drum machines like 808s and like Arturias and like. But I playing with it.
Yeah.
Sequencers kind of just dictate what I used musicians like in a basement and stuff, and we would jam.
Yeah.
And in rock and roll, jam bands kind of have the same idea. You get to the bass player and the drummer might have an idea, and the guitar player will kind of pull out. You pull out a riff and say, "Oh, let's work on that." So I've always kind of had the same approach, which is I think the kind of idea, excuse me, with these modular synths and all these sequencers that you can kind of do that. Even in your DAW, you can run your sequences and just let them kind of present you with something, and then you kind of vibe off of it.
Yeah.
I know the composers, if you go back to like Neil Diamond and all these great composers, they had ideas. They would put down something and they could translate onto the piano or onto the guitar exactly. They jam. Davis, all these guys, jazz guys, they kind of like would vibe off each other and then put stuff.
Yeah.
Which I think is a valid technique. There's nothing wrong with it. There's all different types of techniques in music, so that's cool. So do you actually play like gigs with like a DJ system, like using like a CDJ, or are you primarily just like a kind of bedroom artist on SoundCloud doing stuff from your studio and then putting it out?
Yeah, I mean, I would love to do live shows. I would absolutely love to do live shows with what I do, but at the moment, I don't. Honestly, the thought of it is something I think about a lot. Sort of like getting to the point where I can actually, like present it sort of like a live sort of form. But with my synthwave stuff, or sort of darkwave, sort of music, I would love to. That's the only kind of answer I can give. But currently it's very much what I put out is majority of the time it's kind of what I write when I'm on my way to work. Like if I'm just on the train, and I feel like I'm going to write something. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's not. But that's kind of just how it is at the moment.
Yeah.
But getting to the point where I can actually play it live, that'd be great. That'd be one thing I would love to do. So
if you were going to play live, have you thought about what you would use? Would you use like a CDJ or controller running your stuff, or running off like a Pioneer CDJ, or just running off of your, with a MIDI controller off of your computer? There's different ways of doing stuff now. There's so many different electronic artists. There are artists that will go out there with modular synths and do a modular.
Yeah, of course.
And there are guys that will use like in an MP.
Yeah.
The Pioneer, or use like a Roland, 707 or something. But have you thought about if you were gonna do it, what you?
See, funny enough, so I went to a gig, I say a show in London. I think it was a couple of weeks ago, and it's changed my whole perspective on live performances. I think they're called Carl Dixon and Michael Steen, the two guys who made the soundtrack for Stranger Things. It was the best show I've ever been to in my life. Like it was. I've got a band called Brim and Horizon, which are my favorite sort of like band. They held the crown for about 4 years as the best live, but they absolutely changed my mind and everything. But funny enough, these guys, from what it looked like anyway, they was doing everything on stage. Like they had all the modular synth, all like the actual synthesizers. Like I feel like a lot of the time, when I see, I guess like electronic sort of stuff being played, you can kind of pick apart how they're doing it. So, because for myself, I'm still trying to work out if I was to do it live, like how would I do it? Like, would
yeah,
just go down the road of just having, because I've got like some kit that is usable. I mean, I've got an Ovation Launchpad.
yeah, you can use that. That
Yeah,
would work.
but it's very much kind of like I want to be able to do as much as possible. Like, because there's the other sort of road where you just kind of let things play. Because what I want to do live, is actually play with a drummer.
Yeah,
That's kind of what I want to do, because I feel like if I was just on stage playing electronic music, like it's already been done. Like, I mean,
yeah. You want to do something more impressive. Yeah,
I want to do something with it. So with a drummer, I feel like should change that a little bit. So once I've got, I think my plan kind of is once I've kind of got some stuff on Spotify, I think
yeah,
it's when, and sort of like that's kind of like getting promoted quite well. I think that's when I'm just gonna go, do you know what? Let's play live shows. So, but actually, I think in my own head, I wouldn't kind of want to say, oh, I'm gonna buy all this gear and do it. I think it's probably better if I just kind of go in and do it. Otherwise, it would never happen. So it'll probably end up just being me, a laptop, and maybe a MIDI controller to do little bits. So I think that's kind of
yeah,
how I would end up doing it until
yeah.
like the sort of where I can invest in stuff
Mm-hmm.
and actually learn how to use it. Because I've had the Launchpad for about 4 years now, and I just have not bothered learning it at all. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, 'cause like what I do is I actually have like hardware sense, and I do a one man show with hardware synths and sequencers, and
Right.
I'm able to kind of lives on its own. And so I
Yeah.
have like the Moog drum machines. I've got Beat Step Pro. I've got all kinds. I got a Roland Juno that I run a control off of JDXIs. I've all this stuff, and I just kind of run like my heroes were like Rick Wakeman and Emerson, Lake and Palmer and people like that. From Genesis and like the guys who actually play the keyboards. So I'm an electronic musician that's kind of focused on the keyboards, and that's what I do when I do a show. I focus on actually keyboard performance with all these sequencers and modular synths. But
Wow.
I've seen people use like MPCs. I've seen people use, now even a teenage engineering OP1s and OPZs, which are
Yeah.
pretty interesting. Those work really well. There's a lot of cool, MIDI controllers from like High Force. The High Force. I don't know if you've seen that
I don't think I have actually. No.
MPC. It doesn't need a PC, and you can run
Okay.
like all your loops and all your stuff off of it, and it'll kick off stuff and it'll play like native uh, from it without a computer. And then
Cool.
you
All
can
right.
actually play that thing live. It's like like a $1,500 box. But what's cool is it's very portable. It doesn't need a PC, so you don't have to worry about it failing on a connection to your PC because everything's inside of it. And then
Wow.
it'll actually link through CV and MIDI to hardware sense and other things. And so then you can actually run everything. You can run your samples, you can run your clips, you can run everything. You can play live. And so
That sounds very cool. Yeah.
if you were going to play with a drummer, I think the High Force would give you the ability to kind of be able to play like the way you record live. You could
Yeah.
you could actually play everything off the pads and play chords. You can play leads. You can run samples. You can have all this stuff going on, and it would all be kind of real time, and it would give
Mm.
you a lot of capability. So I think that would be a really cool kit to run, which I've seen this year. A lot of people are starting to use it, but and I like it better than the CDJs, which I think
Yeah.
are kind of cheating, you know, because they're just running stuff. They're
Yeah.
not really playing as much as you would if you're using like an Akai or an MPC. But you really don't. You're more of a DJ. Is that so
By that point,
you want to?
yeah.
And so That's my opinion. What I've seen with the guys who play the modulars or do experimental music. They want to actually play, not which is what a DJ does, which is fine. A lot of people get confused. Electronically, they're like, they actually plays. I think they're different. With this big difference, actually.
Yeah, of course.
But so I was listening to your Judas Priest cover, and that's really cool because that kind of goes a little bit different than what you were saying, because you like to go and just kind of write your own thing, but then you've got this cover you released like 19 days ago, and it's actually pretty cool.
Thank you. Yeah.
So what kind of inspired you to actually, go and do a cover? Because a lot of guys who do original music, they rarely do covers, and like, why did you pick that one? I know you said you're into metal, and that's like a metal staple, but maybe talk about that. Yeah,
sure. So I think I can't remember exactly. That's quite an old one. I mean, I posted 19 days ago, but I think that's been in the archive for probably about 2 years. It's quite an old one now, but like, I think I must have just been listening to Breaking the Law at the time, and I just kind of thought, like, do you know what? If I sort of learn how to play this song and actually put it down, like actually sort of work out how to do it, because I think that was one of the last, I guess, in the subgenre sort of retrowave songs that I wrote.
Yeah,
I don't really tend to do retrowave as such anymore. I do occasionally, but it's kind of like, for me, I don't know. I don't even know what style I do now. Like, I have absolutely no idea what you'd actually call it. But no, when it came to the Breaking the Law retrowave cover, it was pretty much just like find out. I think at the time I was trying to teach myself how to layer instruments or something like that. So it's kind of like trying to make stuff sound bigger. I mean, I think the Breaking the Law cover is badly mixed. Like, that was done on my phone. Like, that was
it still has some character to it. I like that.
Yeah.
What you did, it got, I got drawn to it, but I do like your synthwave ambient stuff.
Yeah.
That's kind of where I am, because I like original music, so I like to hear what people are doing. And synthwave is a big part of what I like, in terms of like the modern music, but I'm like a progressive guy. I listen to, and like Lamb Lies Down on Broadway from Genesis. I'm kind of like old school, but part of being in the electronic musician, you're always looking at what's going on. You look at what people are doing with like glitch wave and all these weird, subgenres of what people are mixing. They're mixing jazz, they're mixing hip hop, they're mixing country, they're mixing. That's where I like the intersection of genres, because I think that's where you get a lot of new ideas. And you can start driving off of things and say, "Oh, I didn't think about doing that."
Exactly.
So have you? So you're thinking about like maybe getting out there and doing shows, but you're primarily you're a SoundCloud artist. You're not on Spotify yet, right?
No, not on Spotify. I would like to be, but for myself, when it comes to Spotify, I want to have the best material that I can put out, which I am currently working on. Like, I am doing some things in the background. I mean, there's a lot of, to be honest, there's a lot of stuff in life at the moment that's kind of taking priority, which is a shame. But like, but that's kind of what my goal is. Like, it's going quite nicely. Like, there's some stuff I'm putting down that I'm like, okay, this is going good. Like, this is actually sounding better than some of the stuff I've been putting out, really.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like, to be honest, like, even SoundCloud to a point. I mean, the only stuff I've got on SoundCloud is just obviously the Breaking the Law cover, Devil Man, which was the other song, and I think it was like a Vaporwave one, and my first
demo collection. I think you have a demo collection like 2016.
Yeah, and that's kind of it. Like, I don't really, because I find currently with what I'm doing, sort of like how I'm, I guess, promoting myself and promoting the music, is I just post pretty much every day, try to every day, like sort of like snippets of songs and put them on Instagram. Because I feel like
that's a good way of doing it. That the Instagram is like a really good place for musicians. I mean, I do that myself.
It's absolutely great for it. It's like it almost annoys me sometimes when people turn around and say, "Oh no, it's so hard to get like noticed." So I was like, "Dude, you're not putting the work in if you think that." Like, because with Instagram, you don't have to put much. Like, really, do not have to put much at all. All you kind of need is just like I guess like a snippet of what you're doing, and you put it out there, and you just go for it. You just interact with people, and you just like go for it. It's a great tool. Like, it's definitely worked a lot better for me than I think anything else has done in the past. Like in the past, I used to use like Facebook.
Facebook doesn't seem to work.
Anymore as it used to be.
Yeah, musicians have gravitated.
But I think artists in general. But yeah, definitely like with Instagram, it's kind of just the hub for me at the moment. Because SoundCloud they've changed the model quite a lot since I started using it years ago. And it's quite, I don't really promote it. Like, I think I put links for it, and that's kind of about it. But I think mainly maybe that's because kind of how I sort of take my music, I just kind of take it as little chunks. People like it, that's cool by me. Whereas obviously SoundCloud's for like the full stuff that I do, which obviously very rarely happens because I don't really finish songs very often. So yeah.
But I think Instagram is a really good tool because I mean the reason I was found on SoundCloud. I have like 90,000 listens on SoundCloud, and I found this the Anchor FM came to me and said, "Hey, we see all this SoundCloud material. Would you like to do a show?"
Yeah.
So then I got on there and I got sponsored by Spotify, and then I got picked up by Bentley Records. Actually, they also picked me up for a couple songs, and they found me on SoundCloud, and then my Instagram post like music videos I create myself, and then put songs. I use the longer form Instagram capability to the channel, and I've gotten picked up. I've done collaborations by meeting other artists on Instagram.
Yeah,
I've done America, like a TV star, Jess Davis, was looking at some of my Instagram. She's on a Netflix show, The Punisher from Marvel.
Yeah.
So nice. Instagram, all the interviews I've had have gotten from Instagram musicians.
Yeah.
That either said they like my stuff, and I said, well, if you like it, I got to show you. You want to be on the show, and actually talk to them directly, and get an artist that normally you have to go through their manager, but on Instagram, they're willing to talk to me on a message, and I get around their manager and get them on the show.
Yeah.
And I think that's awesome because like the bureaucracy of the record labels.
Yeah.
But if you can talk to the artist directly, then you tend to be able to get them on the show.
Yeah.
So, which is really interesting which I don't find anywhere else, which is really cool. So it's a good tool once you get out there, because I got signed by 2 labels for being on Instagram. So it's a really up and coming thing. I was on SoundCloud for years, but when I got to Instagram, that's when I got signed.
Yeah, it's just a great tool. Like it kind of amazes me sometimes with I guess we'll probably eventually get onto this one, but kind of like where the music industry is at currently, it's the best. Like, it's the best time for musicians. Like, it's so easy to get yourself out there. Like, you can interact with anyone. Like, you can literally speak to anyone. And it's like, yeah, like, I mean, with tools like Instagram, just generally social media, it's like, like, you can get around certain things. Like, you can, speak directly to people. It's just, it couldn't be better. Like, you can, literally, as you said, if you've been signed by 2 labels of Instagram, it's because like there's no easier way to get yourself out there. Like, I don't think there's an easier way. I do wonder how long it's going to be until Facebook turns around and makes it difficult, like they've done with Facebook. But currently, as it is, it couldn't be better. Like, could not be better.
Yeah, I just wonder if they're gonna try to put the gates back up. I mean, that was the
I
whole
think
thing.
they probably will. It's
Yeah,
gonna happen. We all know that.
yeah, because the record companies like to have that gated system, and
Yeah.
and that's what this whole world right now is kind of ungated. And I think it's great because I've seen so many really good musicians in this arena, and and they eventually I've gotten picked up and pushed further, and it's really encouraging because sometimes the top 100 or the top 20 isn't really kicking the stuff that to me is vital. It's like college radio. I'm in my 50s, right? So college radio, indie radio in the U.S. was where all the cool stuff happened, like where bands like Husker Du and Radiohead and REM, all the really good music. It started at the college radio stations, and that was the how you got the really cool stuff to me. What's going on there, and then eventually Warner's or the big labels would pick these bands up. But they can make their bones on the radio circuit, on the college radio circuit, and that to me that's what the Instagram is kind of like that now. It's kind of like that college radio arena.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. Like it's crazy. I mean, I've only recently started picking this up again. So with the first sort of album, I released that in 2016. I think got I think got up to about 60 followers, and then I stopped. I can't remember exactly why. But it's only God, I want to say, when did I start? It was actually my birthday, I think. I think it's like July 23rd. I started just doing Instagram again, and it's crazy. Like it actually amazes me, like how easy it's kind of been to speak to people, and how easy it has been to actually find some really, really good stuff. Like sometimes I'll be kind of like going like through hashtags of like synthwave, anime edits, or like retrowave, anything that relates to what I do to sort of like find that following. And like just going through it's like I'm finding loads of artists, like loads of musicians, and it's like it's so cool to see like other people sort of doing stuff that you like. Like it used to be very difficult to find that. I've always found, but like these days, it's like I've gone through like hashtags and like gone through like synthwave, anime edits and stuff, and I've just reached out to these people that I love their stuff. Like I've dropped them a follow and like just say, look, like your stuff's your stuff's inspired me, which I think is like the most heavy thing you can say. Like it's stuff that's kind of like, oh dude, like it keeps you going almost, like
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It's definitely because I mean a lot of like I said, like I got picked up because somebody saw one of my clips, and they said they I got like an A&R guy said he liked what I was putting out. And it's like and it was weird because it was like lightning struck twice, like two A&R guys from two different companies.
Yeah.
One of them Mojo Heads came after me for one song and did like a 1-song EP with me, and then Bentley gave me a year contract where I can put out on Spotify for a year. So I've been putting out on all the platforms. But yeah, so I mean, to get a deal like that, I got a distribution contract where basically they put everything I write if they like it. And I'm in my 50s, and I get signed when I'm in my 50s.
Yeah.
It shows you if you keep on plugging, sometimes it'll happen. You never know what day's gonna happen. I never stopped. I have my recording studio in my house. I have all this stuff I've collected over the years, and I never stopped writing. And so it shows if you keep on writing, eventually somebody might pick you up.
Yeah. See, I guess this is the thing almost, because it's like where I stopped, where I started doing Redwolf and I stopped, went on, took a break for 3 years or whatever. It kind of pains me now to think that I did that, because then I kind of look at what I'm putting out now and like the responses that I'm getting absolutely amazes me. Like a lot of people are really enjoying it, but from what I can tell anyway. And it's like, like if you just keep going, you can't stop. Like you just can't. I've kind of got the mindset now where like my main goal with what I do is I want to be in game soundtracks. Like it's been my dream thing to do for years.
Yeah.
To have my music playing in the game. And it's kind of like, so pretty much every day is pretty much like wake up in the morning, like before I go to work, go on like hashtag like indie game dev or something like that, and just speak to people. Like, this is what I do. This is what I'm after. Like, should we try and negotiate something? And like, it does look like, to be fair, I've had like a couple of good responses. Most of them are kind of like either no or just like got something like that already going. But it's like, yeah, it's just keep going. Like, there's no point sort of hitting a stage where it's like, oh, do you know what, this isn't getting anywhere. It's like, or that kind of fear, I guess fear of failure, I guess, in some sense. It's like, but then again, the only time you really fail is when you stop. Like, that's it. Like, that's where it's done. So yeah, like, you've got to just keep going. And as you said, like, you've been picked up by like 2 labels, and it's like, you don't just get that by doing like a week, of like promoting, think, it's not getting anywhere, or like a couple of years even, and you say, it's not getting there. Like, you just have to keep going and keep going, and like eventually, like, yeah, because with social media, you're constantly out there. You're constantly out there. There's so many people, and it's like, if you keep going and if you like find out new ways or something to actually get yourself out there, then my God, like, of course you're gonna get picked up at some point. Like, if you keep like refining your craft, you'll get there, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it's the thing is, like, a big thing I did just instrumentals for years. And I would put them on SoundCloud, and it was like, called like sound paintings. I was inspired by like Hendrix and the stuff that progressive guys were doing back in the 70s.
Yeah.
And then I decided to create like a voice. So I created Josephine Electric, my alter ego, and like a female character I create with voicoders, like 2 years.
Yeah.
And then, once I started, playing this character Josephine, I kind of play her like an actor. And I create a whole myth behind her, and she's the lead singer of my band. And she's a made-up character that I create. And she just, has her own personality, and everybody, and it was like an exponential increase in my followers. It went from like 1,200 people following me to like, thousands. We got like 90,000 plays on SoundCloud.
Nice.
So it was weird. It's like I had to create this character, and my own voice wasn't what did it. It was this character I created.
Yeah.
So you never know when you're doing all your work. I've been a musician for a long time, and I try to play it straight in bands, just doing like a Bowie thing. Like when Bowie was David Jones, but he picked him up. But when he became Ziggy, he got picked up. And so sometimes it's like you gotta kind of transform yourself. Like a Lady Gaga, she tried to play it straight. When she created Gaga, then boom, she blew up. So it's like, if you just think about your creativity and think about what you want to do and what the next phase is. And I was never into singing, and then I created this kind of alternate version of myself, and it pushed me further. And so you never know what's actually going to do it. My original idea never had that. If you asked me 20 years ago if I was going to do that, I'm like, I would have never said I'm not going to do that. But I just kind of fell into it. So you never know what actually hits the market. It's kind of like, it was like a happy accident.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, so that's why my advice to all the young people doing music is like, keep on trying new things. And like, I did all kinds of things that didn't work, and then finally that Josephine idea that worked, and you would have never thought something like that would work, but it did. So that's what I'm saying. When you're doing music, you keep on experimenting, keep on figuring it out. Don't stop. Like you said, don't stop. Just keep on going.
Never stop. Yeah.
That's the best thing ever to do, and especially if you love it. Like, if you're a musician, usually you just love to do it. You'll play a gig for free just to play. You'll just go to get in front of people. If your goal as a musician is to be a million seller, big rock star like a Mick Jagger, like, the chances of that are not high. But if you love music, and you just want to find your niche, your chances are a lot higher. But if you're shooting for something that's like not probable, and then you're gonna get disappointed, then you'll quit. So you don't want to get into things that make you want to quit. You want to get into things that make you feel good, you know.
Of course. Yeah. No, it makes perfect sense. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's cool. And if you get closer to your full Spotify release, we always bring people back on. We've interviewed bands like 3, 4, 5 times in the last 2 years. So like if you have a release, we like to do release shows where we'll talk about your release and help promote it. So yeah, that's what we're into, doing that. And this is going to get promoted on 11 different podcast platforms, including Spotify. And we'll put your SoundCloud links up. If you've got any other links you want us to push, we'll push your Instagram link as well. We'll push their profile link there. Just let us know if you got anything on YouTube you want us to push or something, and we can do that.
Cool, that'll be much appreciated.
All right, so sorry, gonna cut it short today, but I had some things that I have to prepare for. But but we're happy that you came on, and we'll hope your fan base will enjoy this interview. We're gonna get out. We're gonna give you the links as we publish them. We'll send them to you so you can push them out. Perfect.
I really appreciate it. Honestly, thank you for having me on the show.
Okay, thank you very much. This is Redwolf Music, Fam Electric Ghost, and support Redwolf. Go out to SoundCloud and click the links that we put on this episode, and keep on following them on Instagram. And we'll talk to you in the future. Thank you.
Appreciate it.